My name is Charlie Duffie. I'm a son of a naval aviator, a grandson, and a nephew of naval aviators. So I've been around airplanes and aviation my whole life. In the late 70s, my dad introduced me to air shows when he was working with Chuck Newcomb with the Miami Air Show. And I would volunteer as a young kid, and that's how I got involved in the air show world. Display planes broke down, and my dad knew I can wrench. I was a gearhead as a kid, and he said, "Why don't you help him, fix his airplane?" So I went and helped him fix his airplane, and then they offered me a job on the spot, and that was in 1980, and I started working for a company called Midnight Aviation. My dad was a naval aviator, like I said, and we'd always chat about what could go wrong, why would things go wrong, so that always drew my interest. And the mechanical side of aviation, since I could not fly due to my Meniere's disease, so I was the mechanic side. And so I would learn from him, from being a pilot himself, and the do's and don'ts. So I would translate that into the mechanic side, and that sparked my interest, and I went to work for a company called Midnight Aviation. And a few years later, I convinced the owner to change the name to Miami Aircraft Accessories, which we did. We grew the business to what it was. To 1989, I bought a portion of it, doing spark plugs, of all things. And with $5,000 and a spark plug machine and an air compressor, Spark Plug America was born. And about a year and a half later, we renamed the company called CJ Aviation, and I specialized in fuel pumps and hydraulic pumps and smoke pumps. And that is how I got my name, the Pump Man. As a young kid, I was always a gearhead, and I was drag racing in the streets out in the Redlands of Miami. And so I took care of business, took care of family. In 2017, I decided to go buy a Factory 5 kit car. So the reason I chose a 1965 Daytona Coupe was I liked the style of the car, I liked the long nose. In my earlier years, I had a Datsun 240Z, which is very similar to the body lines and body shape, and it was always fun to drive and handle. And from Factory 5, it's a build it, it's not a bought car. You build it, you get the chassis, the frame, you get the body, you get 28 boxes of parts, and then you start building it. Inventoried everything late 2017, early 2018. Had it rolling as a rolling chassis with a motor in, and could drive it on the street as a go-kart. Mid 2018, the fall of 2018. And then by mid 2019, I had a lot of the aluminum panels already on the car, and it was taking more shape. Then business got in the way. Someone offered me some money that I couldn't refuse, so I ended up selling CJ Aviation, and that took a lot of my time over the next year and a half. And then I stayed on for a couple of years, and so by 2023, I was able to put more time and effort into it and finish it up late 23. And by April of 25, I put the car into paint in this color called Guardsman Blue with the number 15. And why that is special is because in 1965 in Sebring, Bob Bondurant and Joe Schlesser won that year in this same car, same color and same number. And it's my wife's favorite number, so had to do it. I got the car registered in January of 26, and unfortunately, the way they do the cars now in registry, I could not register it as a 1965 car. I had to register it in the year the application was made, which was January of 26. The car is special because I built every single part with help from my wife and help with a couple other friends, but basically 95% of this car is 95% built by myself. I wanted to challenge myself. I'm always looking to learn new things, and this was one of them. And I just love the style of the car and the heritage of the car. It is a true American history car in the mid-60s with Carroll Shelby and Bob Bondurant, Joe Schlesinger, Phil Remington, to design a car like this based off of the Cobra. Let me show you what's powering this 1965 Daytona Coupe. It is a Coyote 5.0, 480 horsepower theoretically, 425 pounds of torque to the wheels, and there is no more room to put anything else in this car except this engine. So let me explain to you about what the car is sitting on. The car is sitting on some Hildebrand 18-inch wheels wrapped with Michelin tires that's going to get us from St. Augustine to San Diego safely. So buried down inside here is our Concord battery that is the heart of our car and the heart to start and to have enough power to manage all our equipment, from our Lightspeed headsets, our GPSs, our GoPros, and all the other gadgets that we're going to need to go from St. Augustine to San Diego in 31 hours. Here's a fun fact. If you notice on the car, there's only one side mirror. When we put the other side mirror on the other side in the exact same spot, I couldn't see it because of the A-pillar, so I took it off and had the body guy and paint guy fill in the hole, so we ended up with only one side mirror. And it was still tough to see by this wide body in the back here, so I ended up putting in a rear view mirror electronic, backup camera so I can see behind me. I met Kevin Lacey in about 2015 as he was starting right in the middle of the airplane repo seasons, and we became friends. He would go to all the trade shows that we would go to with CJ Aviation. He was always talking about starting this organization to help young kids in his local neighborhood that didn't have the ability or the means to go to school to learn to be pilots or mechanics. And he was willing to mentor, so he created a program called Tango 31 Aero Club out of McKinney, Texas, and the airport designator is T31, and that's where the name Tango 31 originated from. So he started a nonprofit organization, and we've had probably close to 40 kids go through this program, and he mentored them. The kids don't have to pay for anything or any training or anything like that. All they're required to do is keep the grades up, and they go out to Kevin's hangar, and he would teach them how to, and mentor them how to build an aircraft from scratch. They would get an airplane donated, they would tear it down, rebuild it, and they would learn to get their license from that, their A&P license. Then he would teach them to fly that same airplane. But he was strictly hands-off. It was more of a mentor, and explained to them what needed to be done, and they got into the books, and then they got to work. And there's several kids that are now flight instructors, working for corporate pilots, corporate A&P mechanics, and are doing great things. And that's why we want this program to stay alive and help mentor any of these kids, because aviation is hurting for pilots and hurting for A&P mechanics, and more probably A&P mechanics because our age group, we are retiring, and we need to instill, the technical side of aviation back into young kids to make a career out of it, and it will be a fantastic career in my opinion. Over the years, we had sponsored that group through CJ Aviation, and they collectively have other aviation companies sponsor them with engines and parts and money and different things to maintain the club. And Kevin is just a good old boy Texan with a great heart. And unfortunately, he passed away February 25. And myself and Chris Holder from Concord Battery, we did not want to see this organization go by the wayside, so we decided to use my car and a Cannonball Run to raise money for Tango 31. We actually decided that we're going to do the Southern Trail Cannonball Run from St. Augustine to San Diego and doing it in honor of Kevin Lacey and trying to generate awareness for Tango 31 Aero Club. May 1st and we'll be taking off from Patty Wagstaff's hangar in St. Augustine. Follow us. You can follow us at Tango 31, Concord Battery, Charlie Duffie's Facebook page, or Duffie Charlie Instagram page. And you can follow the process and please donate to help a good cause. And my ultimate dream is to raise enough money to put in the bank to self-sustain the club and then like pseudo-franchise it into Miami and South Carolina where Chris lives, Miami where I live, where Chris and I can mentor the kids and replicate this across the country for kids for free that would not have this choice or chance to do. I always want to give back. My whole life is about giving back to kids, doing career days for our kids, just giving back to the community that's been really gracious to me, my family. I might choke up here a little bit, but 33 years owning the company, we had a wonderful life, and this is my way to give back. I think the big challenge of this is getting from point A to B with a car that you built, and then you start to question yourself as a mechanic, did I put all the right parts in the right places to get from point A to point B? And our point A to point B is about 2,500 miles. And to be fit to do this run, so mentally, you're in a car, it's a purpose-built car for basically racing. There's no creature comforts in this car. However, I did put AC in here and some comfortable seats, but it's nothing but roll bars. There's no cruise control. Everything is rigid, everything's hard, everything's race car driven. And so the stamina is gonna be what it's gonna be the hardest on both Chris and myself. And Chris told me when we did a couple videos that we're gonna work out, hydrate, which we're doing. He's been stretching. I've been doing some stretching and losing some weight here since we started this project, because it's going to take everything we have mentally and physically to do this challenge, basically, but also to have a good time on the way. And one of our stops is actually going to be in McKinney, Texas, where Tango 31 is. Meet up with the kids and at their hangar, and then the plan is for them to race us across Texas in their airplanes that they built with this car that I built to raise awareness for the program. Have a dream. Never give up on your dream, no matter what. If you want to do this, go do that. Do not let anybody stop you for anything. And my dream was to create a company that I would sell one day, and I did it. And there's no reason anybody can't do that. Is have a dream, follow through. There will be some zigs and zags, don't worry about it, but just keep on following that path and have faith that you can finish that project, whatever you set your mind to.